Hello my beautiful crafty friends, I'm Katia with Lunar Sun Creations and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be creating the baby keepsake box that I made with the papers from Vectoria Designs. If you haven't seen the walkthrough to that project, I will link it. I think it's up there. It's somewhere here. Find it, you'll see it. So today we're going to be creating that box. It doesn't have to be a baby box. That's how I've designed it, is as a baby box, but it could also be used for a wedding or just a memento box for a special relationship or, you know, anything like that. So I hope you will join me in creating this really super cute project, and I hope you love it. I will see you again very soon. I've got a whole bunch of new things on the horizon. I've been doing some more jewelry lately, getting back to my roots where Lunar Sun Creations all began. So I hope you will check out some of those videos as well. All right, I love y'all. Let's get crafting. Okay, so I'm just gonna go over the supplies list and then we'll get going. The biggest supply is going to be chipboard because this is a keepsake box, so we need it to be sturdy. I would recommend a heavyweight chipboard. You're gonna need quite a few pieces. It's gonna depend on how big your chipboard is. I think I used about 10 pieces. Once you get the measurements, you will know how many you'll need. Then we'll need a paper trimmer and a really good blade to cut all the chipboard. You'll need some scissors and some wet adhesive and the score tape. So I found it easier to use these large rolls of score tape. This one's a 6-inch, this one's a 4-inch from scrapbook.com. They came in really handy. Or if you have adhesive sheets, that would also really work. You can do everything just with the regular score tape, but this just saves a lot of time. So if you're able to get the nice wide rolls of double-sided adhesive, that would be fantastic. You'll need some cardstock. This is how we're going to put the box all together, is with strips of cardstock that have adhesive on the back. I'm going to use white because it's a baby keepsake box, so I thought black would be a little bit too stark. So white's a nice light color. And then of course you will need your patterned paper, which I've already shown you. And I will be inking all of my pattern paper in a vintage photo distress ink. So this is optional, but I think it really adds to the project. And you'll need a couple kind of pulls for either, you want to have, it's going to have a drawer, so you want a couple pulls for the drawer. So these I just picked up at a hardware store. They're just regular dresser drawer pulls. Or you could use something like these. These are from Tim Holtz. I just got these at scrapbook.com as well. Or something like these. These have a much smaller profile, you know, so they're quite thin. These I got from Amazon. So I just typed in drawer pulls into Amazon and these came up. So anything like that. And then you will need a hair elastic as well, because my plan is to have the lid be closed with a hair elastic closure, and I will show you how to do that. Okay, so I'm going to get everything out of the way here and we will get going with the creation of our keepsake box. Yay! I realized I missed two things. We also need a scoreboard with your scoring tool and bone folder and some kind of hole punch. Okay, and if you have a crocodile that has an eyelet setter, I mean, that would be really cool as well, because I am going to use a couple eyelets for the elastic closure. Not absolutely necessary to have eyelets, but if you do have them, then it just will make it even prettier. If you don't have a crocodile or a hole punch, or even want to use the elastic closure as a closure, I will show you an alternative to that. Okay, perfect. Now I think we're set. Okay, so this project is going to be split up into 3 parts. We've got the drawer of the box, we've got the outer part of the box, and then we have got the upper insert box, I guess I'm going to call it. So I'm going to put all of the measurements for each of those three things up on the screen now with both the inches and the centimeters. I work in inches, so for the rest of the video I'm just going to be saying the inches. So I'm going to put those up on the screen now so that you can pause the video and write them down if you need to. So I find it's easier if you have all the pieces prepped and cut ahead of time, and then it makes the putting it together much faster. Okay, so first it will be all the measurements for the drawer, and then for the outer box, and then for the upper insert box. Okay, so I'll put those up now. Okay, so now that you have all of those measurements written down, and hopefully you've got all your chipboard cut, so now we are going to get our cardstock pieces ready. So the cardstock pieces are going to go around every single seam of the entire box. So we're going to need about 40 strips of cardstock that are 1.5 inches wide, and then either 11 or 12 inches long, depending on what paper you're using. So we are going to cut these to fit as we create the box. So you're going to need about 40 of those. And what I am doing is I'm using 12 by 12 paper and taking my 6-inch roll of score tape and putting adhesive on the entire back, and then cutting my pieces into 1.5 inch strips. If you don't have the 6-inch roll of score tape, then I'm going to show you that we can just cut all of our strips. So these ones don't have any adhesive on them yet, so these are just cut to 1.5 inch as well. And then we're going to score them, and then we're going to add just the regular score tape that most of you will probably already have. Okay, so cut out about 40 strips, 1.5 inches, and either with the adhesive already on the back or without, your choice. I just find it much easier if the adhesive's already there. Then we're gonna take our scoreboard, and with 12 of them, we're going to score at 5/8 of an inch and 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so do that to 12 of them. Is that showing up there? Can you see that? There's a little, there we go. So, and it's okay that there's a little bit extra on this side than this side. You're not really gonna see them, you're just literally gonna see this bit. We're just covering the edges of the chipboard with these. Okay, so do 12 of them like that. And then for the rest of them, we're just going to score right down the middle at 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so that's going to be for the rest of them. So those ones already had adhesive on the back. So let me just show you if we are doing it with one of the pieces that doesn't have any adhesive. So you just score it like that, and then you'd put your adhesive on the back like this. And I might have to use one thick and one thin roll of score tape for this, because you want as much coverage of adhesive as possible. So I've got a little tiny thin roll as well. Okay, so just like that. So as we go, we are going to trim these down to the size that we need them. Okay, because there's just so many cuts that I figured this might be the easiest way to go. So get 40 pieces all measured up, so 12 with the 2 score lines and 28 with the single score line down the middle, and then we will continue. So the ones that have the double score line, we're going to call those the edging strips, and then all of the ones with the single score line, those are going to be your structure strips. I have a feeling I'm already going to regret calling them that, because structure strips I think is going to be a hard thing to say over and over again. That's okay, you'll get me. Okay, so let's get our pieces for our drawer cut first if you haven't already. So for the drawer, we've got the drawer bottom is 9.5 inches by 6.5 inches. Okay, and then we've got the two short sides of the drawer, which are 2 inches by 6.25 inches. So they're gonna go here. And then we've got the front and the back of the drawer, which are 2 inches by 9.5 inches. So they're gonna obviously go at the back and the front. And then we've got the drawer front. So because the drawer, I want to make sure that it can easily go in and out of the box. So it's a little bit smaller than the outer box itself. So we're going to create like a faux front onto the drawer so that it is even with the rest of the box. So that is 10 inches by 2 3/8. So we don't need this one for the moment, but we are going to work with these 5 pieces. So let's do back and the front. So we're going to need 2 of our structure strips. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to measure the bottom of the drawer, which is 9.5. So we need 2 structure strips cut to 9.5. Actually, we're going to need 4 of them. So cut 4 to 9.5. And I mean, you don't have to grab your trimmer out. You can always just take a pen and just mark it, you know, just make a little tiny mark there and just cut it with your scissors. So do that to 4 of them. Keep the scraps though, because we will be using them. And then you can use that piece that you just cut to cut the rest of them. And for each step, it's a good idea to kind of dry fit your pieces just to make sure that everything is going to be tickety-boo. Okay, so we've got 4. We'll keep those scraps over there. Now we're going to fold and crease our strips. Okay, so 2 of them are going to fold with the adhesive on the inside, and 2 are going to fold the opposite direction with the adhesive on the outside, okay? Okay, so you've got 2 with adhesive on the outside, 2 with the adhesive on the inside. I don't know if you can see that very well, but that's how it is. Now your chipboard is going to sit on top of the bottom. Okay, so it's going to sit right on top of the edge of the chipboard as opposed to going on against the side. It's going to sit on top of the chipboard. Okay, so what we're going to do is take the 2 strips that have the adhesive on the outside, remove the adhesive backing, okay, now I'm also going to use wet adhesive just to really help this stay. So I'm going to put just a tiny bit of, like just a bead of adhesive all the way along this very edge, as well as a little bit on my structure strip. Okay, and then I'm going to hold my back piece onto the very edge of my bottom, and I'm going to put my structure strip right into the crease in between them. Okay, so there is our structure strip. That's what it looks like from the back, and now we're going to put another strip right here. Okay, so that's going to be one of the ones that has the adhesive on the inside. So that's going to fit just like that. So we'll have one on either side. Okay, so we're going to do that now. And again, I'm just going to add a little bit of wet adhesive. This is just to make sure that I really want this Keepsake box to stand the test of time. So that's why I'm using both adhesives, to make sure that things are really going to stay put. Okay. So there is the very beginning. We've got an adhesive strip here and here. And now we're going to do the same thing to the front. If it helps you to line it up, you can put the adhesive strip onto the front or back piece first, and then put it on to the drawer if that's helpful. I'm going to adhere this just to the drawer first, or the I guess this would be the front. So I'm going to adhere it like that, and then this is going to go chipboard is on top of the other piece of chipboard, like right on the very edge and on top of it, and then wrap this around. Okay, and then we're going to use the other strip to put it on the inside. I find it helpful to like kind of hold it bent and put the exact crease into place first, and then let the sides adhere. There's the beginnings of our drawer there, and now we're going to do the short sides. So the short sides should fit right in between the two long sides. Okay? So for these ones, we need 4 structure strips that are 6 1/4. Okay, so let's get those cut and folded. So I'm just going to use the drawer side to measure. Okay, so make a mark. Now we can cut 4 of those. And we'll use these bits in a minute. Okay, perfect. So once again, we're going to do 2 with the adhesive on the inside and 2 with the adhesive on the outside. Okay, and then following the same process, I'm going to put just a tiny bead of glue right along the edge. Gonna stick that in there so it's sitting on top of the chipboard bottom. Okay, and then we're going to stick one of these right in there. So I'm going to remove the tape backing from one of the ones that is adhesive on the outside. Okay, Okay, put a little bit of wet adhesive. I'm gonna hold it so that I can just tuck this crease right into the crease between the chipboard pieces. So stick it right in there and then let the pieces adhere. Okay, fantastic. I'm gonna do the other side and in the same manner and then do the outside bits, like then do this part. So that's it so far, and now we're gonna put these two on the outside edges. Okay. All right, and then the other side. Okay, so now this one's going to go on this corner. Try to get it in there as tight as you can. Okay, so there we go. And now we need to do each of the little bits. So we need 8 little structure strips that are 2 inches long. So we can start using some of our scraps here. We just measure 2 inches and make a little mark. Okay, and now we can cut 8 of these to 2 inches long, and we're going to do the exact same process. And then we'll have 4 of them with the adhesive on the inside, 4 of them with the adhesive on the outside. So I'm just going to do the rest of this off camera just so you don't have to watch me cutting 8 pieces of paper and doing the same process. So I will come back to you in just a sec when I have these prepped. Okay, so once you have all of those pieces prepped, we've got 4 little ones with the adhesive on the outside and then 4 with the adhesive on the inside of it. Okay, so we're going to do the same process. We'll use these ones on the inside of each corner. Okay, so again, hold these so they're touching and nice and snug together. Put this right into the corner and then open up the flaps. So do that to all 4 corners. I'm going to do the inside bits first and then I'll do the outside bits. Okay, so now we're going to do the outside 4 corners. These ones should be pretty easy now that everything else is fairly structurally sound. Hope everybody's still with me here. Now for these ones, make sure to get the very bottom. That's the important part. We're going to be doing another strip along the top here. So if it doesn't reach to the very edge, that's okay, because we're going to be putting, that's where our edging strips come in. So we'll be putting edging strips along here. Okay, so if it doesn't get all the way to the top edge, it's fine as long as this part's covered. And if you have, like this corner, I have a tiny little gap there, so I might just fill that in with either a Posca pen or a little bit of white acrylic paint, so you won't even see that. Okay, so now we just need to go along these edges to hide this chipboard edge. So we need 2 edging strips that are 9 3/8 by 6 1/8. Okay, so 2 at 9 3/8 and 2 at 6 1/8. All right. Remember, these are the ones that have the double score lines. They're going to fit perfectly right on over top of that chipboard. Okay, so we'll cut 2 of them. I mean, you can measure, but this is just as easy to use a pen and just dry fit it like this. And remember to keep the scraps. Okay, and then 2 for the short sides. Alright, so those are just going to wrap around to cover that rough edge there. First I'm going to fold and crease and then put them on. Okay, so that's just going to go right onto there. And again, if you have those tiny little bits, not a problem. We'll just cover those up with a little bit of paint or marker or something afterwards. Because it's almost impossible to get it absolutely perfectly covered, so we'll just touch up the little bits and corners afterwards. Okay, and that goes right there. All right, so there is our drawer. And while we have this piece still out in front of us, we might as well do our edging strips for the drawer front. So we need 2 edging strips that are 10 and then 2 that are 2 3/8, right? Yeah, perfect. Okay, so, and I mean, again, you can just measure it this way. That's just as easy to do. So I'm going to cut 2 like that. And then from my scraps, I will get the 2 3/8. Okay, so just use the same process to put these strips along the edge of this drawer front, and then I will come back and we will start working on the outer box. Okay, so here's our drawer and here is going to be our drawer front. So it's going to glue onto the front and it's just a little bit bigger. See how it's overhanging the edges? Just to make it look a little bit cleaner as it goes in. All right, so we'll set that aside and now we will work on the outer box. Okay, so for the outer box, the bottom piece is 10 inches by 6 3/4 inches. The back piece is 10 inches by 5 inches. And then we've got the two outer sides, which are 6 3/4 inches by 5 inches. So cut those out if you haven't already. Again, if you need centimeters, just go to the very beginning of the video and write out what each of these is in centimeters. All right, so we're going to use the same process that we did before. So I'll start with the back piece and just put it right onto the back with a tiny bead of glue. Oh, I guess I should tell you about the strips. So I'm getting ahead of myself. We need, for the structure strips, you're going to need 2 of them that are 9 7/8 wide. I mean, I guess you could make them 10 inches, but 9 7/8 is what I have mine at. And then for the 2 sides here, we need 4 that measure 5 inches. Okay, and then I've got 2, again, I've got them folded so that the 2 with the adhesive on the outside, 2 with the adhesive on the inside. And then you also need 4 that are 6 3/4. Again, I've folded them, 2 with the adhesive on the outside, 2 on the inside. Okay, perfect. You know the drill now. We're putting it together pretty much the same way that we did the drawer. So I'm going to put a tiny bead of glue right here. I'm going to get my piece ready. Okay, removing the tape backing. Putting a little bit of wet adhesive. Okay. Now I'm going to hold this right on the edge, so it's sitting on top of the chipboard at the very, very back of this piece. And then I'm going to hold this one so that I can stick the like the folded edge of it right into the crease. And then smooth out both sides. Okay, and now I'm going to do the piece on the back side. Okay, so this is going to go right here. All right, so now you've got this L shape so far. Now we're going to do the 2 sides here. And just following the exact same process. So these 2 pieces are the 6 3/4. I guess I should do one at a time. That's all right. Okay. Holding this piece right on that little bead of glue and then tucking this right into the corner. Okay, and then I'll do the outside of that one. Okay, and then, oh, forgot to put glue there. I just put my finger in it. Then we'll do the same process on this side. Okay, now we can do the corners here. Okay, so same process on both the inside and the outside. Let's just dry fit it and make sure it's good. Okay, this one's a little bit long. Okay, I'm gonna trim mine just a smidge. It's always a good idea to dry fit them beforehand. Okay, so when you're doing it, so these sides should be butted up against the back like that. So I'm going to do the 2 insides and then I'm going to do the outside bit. Okay, perfect. Now we'll do the outsides. right. There's one. And the other one. And then we can put some kind of edging strips along there. Almost forgot the wet adhesive. Okay, perfect. So then our drawer is going to slide right into there, like that. Okay. So far so good. And now we can work on this outer bit. So we'll put some finishing strips on the two sides and the front. Okay, so this bit and this bit. So we need finishing strips. We need 2 of them that are 6 5/8. We need 2 of them that are 4 7/8. So let's cut those first. We can always just do it like this. So 4 7/8. Okay, and then we need 1 long one for down here. It's a very scientific process, I know. Alright, so we're going to put those on all the places that we want to hide the edge of the chipboard. Okay, so this is what we've got so far. Now the lid is going to be 10 inches by 7 inches. It's going to sit right here and fold closed like that. I want to make sure that this has a lot of mobility. So I'm going to use Tyvek to adhere the lid. However, you can use cardstock. If you're going to use cardstock instead of Tyvek, I would take one of your edging strips and score one more 1/8 of an inch score line. So there's 3 altogether. And then on either side, make sure that you only adhere it to where those score lines are. So for instance, say you're adhering the piece right here, you want to make sure that you only go up to the score lines and then have a space where those 3 score lines are so that they are not actually against any chipboard, and that way you've got like a space, you know, about just over 1/4 of an inch. So this has a lot of room to maneuver. Okay, but if you have Tyvek, I would recommend using that. So I'm just going to cut this to the size that I need here. I've already got some adhesive on the back of this Tyvek. Remove the backing. I'm going to adhere half, like 1/2 of this to the back side of this outer box. Okay, just like that. And now I'm going to adhere the lid with a bit of a space onto that tie back. Okay, so you want to make sure that there is enough room for this to be moving. All right, so now I'm going to put the other piece of tie back right here. So if you're using cardstock, it's the same process. You just want to make sure that you've got those score lines in that space. But you do the same thing with the cardstock. Tyvek just has a little bit more maneuverability. Okay, so there we go. There is our lid. Now we're going to put some edging strips all the way along our lid like we've been doing all along. Okay, so we've got our outer box with the lid. We've got our drawer. All right, everyone with me so far? We've also got our drawer front that's going to go on here. So that's going to all sit together like so. Okay, so now we need to do the upper part here where there's going to be some compartments. So what we're going to do is, well, first I should tell you the measurements of what we need. So we've got our, the bottom of the compartment box is 9 3/4 by 6 3/4 inches. Then we've got the front of the box that is 9 7/8 by 2 3/8. We've got the small insert, which is 5 1/2 inches by 2 3/8. And then we've got the large insert, which is 6 5/8 by 2 3/8. Okay, again, all those measurements are going to be at the very beginning of the video, so if you missed any, you can backtrack and pause and write them all down. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to remove this drawer for now. We are going to take the front part of this upper box area. We are going to set it inside, even with the top ridge of our outer box, and we are going to draw a line. Okay, I just want to make sure that I'm straight here. Okay, and then we're going to draw a line. Then we're going to do it on both sides as well, so line it up with the top edge of the outer box and draw a line. Okay, and then also on the other side. So hold it there and draw your line. Okay, so that along that line is where the bottom of the compartment is going to sit. So we need to make a kind of like a little base for it to sit. So we need 3 of our structure strips. Okay, and we are going to cut them according to how long these are. So these ones are, what are they, 6? Let's just measure this part. So you're going to need 4 that are 6 1/2, and then we're going to need 2 that are 9 3/4. Okay, so 4 that are 6 1/2, 2 that are 9 3/4, and we're going to get those all cut. Okay, so once they're all cut, we're going to fold them so that the adhesion is on the outside. Okay, give them a little crease. Okay, I'm going to start with the back one, so I'm going to remove the tape backing. then add some wet adhesive. Okay, and now we're going to pinch it like we did before for putting things into the corners. We're going to bring our box, kind of set it down on its back. I feel like that's a little bit easier. And now you want this line, the center line, to be right along the line that we've drawn. Okay, and we're going to adhere it just halfway. So we're going to just adhere 1/2 to the like the bottom of the line. So try to make sure that it's along the line all the way across. You want this as straight as possible. Okay, so don't adhere this half. You want this half to be floating because that's what the base is going to sit on. Okay, so just adhere that part of it. Okay, now we're going to do it to the sides as well. Same process. And it's going to kind of form a shelf all the way around the inside for the base of our upper compartment to sit on. So wet adhesive. Okay, so again, I'm just going to kind of tilt my box. I'm going to line up this with the line that I've drawn. Okay, and once you feel you've got it straight, I'm just going to push down on the lower half. Okay, so these two are going to kind of attach in the corner. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? So there's like, they're kind of forming a little bit of a shelf. And now we'll do the third side here. All right, so there we go. And now hopefully you have a very straight looking shelf. Okay, and before that glue dries, we're going to just set this, your base part, right on top of all of that. It should fit perfectly. Okay, and then from underneath, we're going to push that kind of shelf we've made into the bottom of our base part here. And then we're going to do the same process on the top half. Okay, like that. So with the other three that we've cut, we're going to make it more secure by adding another layer of adhesion. Okay, so folding it so that the crease gets right into where I want it there. And then we're gonna push it down to adhere it in. And then we will do the two sides. Before we get too far, I just want to make sure that our drawer is going to be able to slide in with no problem. Okay, perfect. Alright, so doing the same thing to both the sides, getting it right in that corner. If there's a little crinkle, that's okay, because it's going to be covered with pattern paper, so you won't see it. Fantastic. Now we've got a pretty sturdy layer there, and we're going to add one more piece along the front, which will make it even more sturdy. Okay, so now we are going to put the front part on. Some people just arrived to do some work on the house, so we'll see how long I can video before they start using power tools. We shall see. Okay, so we've got two of our structure strips that are 9 3/4, and we're going to put the first one, we're going to tuck it underneath the shelf just halfway, and then fold it up over our front part here. I'll show you in a second. Okay, so I'm just going to tuck this under until it hits the score line. You want just a tiny bit of space between the score line and the edge of the chipboard here. Okay, and then we're going to fold it, but we're not going to adhere. We're just going to kind of let it know where we want it to go. And then we're going to sit this piece on top of the very edge, like this. Should fit perfectly snug in there. And now we're going to push this up against it. Okay, so then we're going to use the other strip like we normally would on the inside here. Okay, I'm going to pinch it. I'm going to hold this upright. And, oops, sorry, hit the camera. And we're going to tuck it right into that corner, making sure that this front piece is on top of this, right on the very top edge. Okay, so now we're going to use, we've got two structure strips that are 2 3/8, and they're going to definitely help to keep this where it's supposed to be. So they're going to go on the inside. Hold this upright, and I will push this right into, okay, put that there. Okay, and do the same with this corner here. Okay, so now I'm going to take two of the edge strips, and I'm going to put those on the outside of the corners, like that. So that's going to go on here like this, and then one on the other side. Okay, I'm also going to put a edging strip here. Okay, so now we can start doing the inserts. So I'm going to take the smaller insert, which is 5.5 by 2 3/8, and it's going to go right here. Okay, so we're going to need two of the structure strips that are 5.5 and two that are 2 3/8. Okay, so I'm going to stick them onto the insert itself first on either side. One there, and then one on the other side. Okay, so it's going to be just like that. And now we're just going to plop it down. I'm not going to measure it. I'm going to eyeball it, but if you feel that you would like to have it exactly in center, then please feel free to do that. Okay, and then we're going to use our two little guys and put them on either side right there. Okay, so make sure it's straight up and down, and then get it right into the corner. And for all these little guys, I'm just using the scraps from the other one. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. Okay, and then this one, we're just gonna go right into the corner. Okay, perfect. So there's that one. And now this, your larger insert is gonna go right there. So we're gonna do one long one, and then we'll have to cut one in half to do the inside little bits. Okay, so it is, so you've got 2 of them at 6 5/8, but one of them you'll have to cut exactly in half. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna put it onto the insert first and then put it in here, and then we'll do all the little ones. Okay, so I'm just gonna hold this in place, try and make sure that it is as straight as possible, and then tuck that right in there. Okay, so now I'm gonna do these 2 bits right here. So I just cut that other 6 5/8 inch one, I just cut it in half. Okay, so tuck that right into the corner. Make sure that this piece is straight this way. And I like to dry fit these, so this one's a little bit long, just because we have to account for this piece in the center. There we go. Okay, and now we need 6 bits that are 2 3/8 inch long. So we're going to put one here and one here, here and here, and then on either side of this one. Okay, we're almost done. Okay, perfect. Now our last step is just to put some finishing strips, some edging strips here and here, and then we can start decorating. All right, so I'm just going to kind of measure by doing this. Okay, I just need to take a little bit off the end here. Again, I'm just using my scraps for this part. Okay, that one will fit. Okay, and then one right here. All right, so this one will be 6 5/8. Okay, but because we have that center bit, you are gonna have to cut one little slit right there to accommodate for this. All right, so I'm just gonna take a pen and just mark it right there, and then I'm just gonna cut a tiny slit right up to the score line. Okay, so just cut a tiny little thing out of there. Okay, so now I'm just going to fit that one in here. Turn this sideways just so it's a little bit easier for me. I guess I could have made that slit a little better, a little bigger. I'm gonna make it just a tiny bit bigger. Okay, there we go, that should be better. Okay, fantastic. Now we can start the decorating process. So I've got these two little kind of door pull thingy things. I got these from either Amazon or eBay. I can't remember which, but I just looked for drawer pulls or something like that, and these came up. So my plan, this is the drawer front here. And so just put a piece of pattern paper on there. I'm going to place these where I want them. And then I'm going to take a pen and I'm going to, there's these two little places right here and here that will fit a brad. So I'm going to kind of mark on here where I want these to go. Okay, and then I'm going to take my crocodile and I'm going to punch holes where I just made those marks. Okay, there we go. Hopefully you can see those dots. There's one there, one there. Okay, so now I'm going to punch the holes. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the back of this as well, just to help it really adhere. Okay, and then I'm going to put my little brads through. Okay, holding on to the brads, I'm going to flip it over and open the tines on the back here. Okay, fabulous. And I'm going to put some score tape over top of those tines to help them not to move. Okay, so I put one on just to make sure that it would work. Now I'm going to line this one up with this other one, trying to make them as symmetrical as possible. Does that look good? I feel like maybe it should move over. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm taking this gold metallic marker, holding, oh, always move it right at the last minute. Holding it, I'm going to make two little marks in these openings. Okay, that seems really quite a bit lower than the other one. Okay, get a ruler out, make sure they're even. Okay, that looks pretty good. So I was just a little bit low. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to take my crocodile or use whatever hole puncher you have. Okay, and then I'm going to try to line this up with my dots that I've made. Okay, I think that's pretty good. All right, so I'm going to put a little bit of wet adhesive on the back of this as well. Any extra help is appreciated when putting on things like this. Okay, so try and line it up with my holes. Where are my holes? I see one, I don't see the other. Well, the other one's full of glue. Okay, there we go. All right. See the light of day coming through there. Okay, oh, I'm off camera though. Okay, so I'm just putting these little brads into the holes. Okay, holding on to them, I'm going to flip it over and open up these tines. Okay, once the tines are open up, put a little bit of score tape on to cover them, to help them to not go anywhere. All right, there we go. Hopefully that glue will set. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put a couple of these on here until the glue dries, and that way I know they are secure before I attach this to the rest of the album. So I'm going to set this aside. So now we're going to do the part that keeps the lid closed. So we're going to have a piece right here with an elastic that is going to go to a little hitch right here is my plan. So originally I was going to use an eyelet here, but I can't find my eyelets anywhere. I cleaned my studio recently, and as soon as I clean my studio, I can never find anything. It's, I really hope I'm not alone in that. Does anyone else like clean up and then that's when they lose things? I feel like in my chaos is when I actually know where things are. Anyway, so I can't find them, so I'm going to improvise. My first step is to put a piece of pattern paper on the lid. So I'm going to do that right now. All right, so when cutting your pattern paper, literally just use the measurement of the piece you want to cover and make it a tiny bit smaller, and that's all there is to it. Okay, so that's that. So the next step, because I couldn't find an eyelet, I'm going to use this metal embellishment. It's got a hole in the center, which is what I want. So I want a hole. So if you don't have an eyelet, if you can try and find some kind of embellishment that has a little hole in the center, even a chipboard embellishment would work. Anything that has a little hole at the center is what we want. So I'm going to place this now in the center. I think that looks good to me. Okay, so once again, I'm going to mark it with my gold pen. I know it's hard for you to see, but I can see it, and there is a hole there is a mark right there. Okay, so now I'm going to punch that mark. Okay, so I've got a hole. Now I'm going to take just a regular hair elastic, okay, and I'm going to put the hair elastic through that hole. Okay, and now I'm going to, don't pull it all the way through. Okay, so there we go. On the back side of the elastic, I'm just going to put a paper clip, and this will just make it so that there is no way that it's going to come all the way through. Okay, so now we're going to use this little metal bit, and we're going to put the elastic through the metal bit. Now there's so many ways that you can improvise this. As long as you have something that has a hole in the center, then that's all you need. You can do this with anything. If it's flat-ish and has a hole, then you're good to go. Okay, so I'm going to pull that all the way through. Okay. And I'm going to put a little bit of wet adhesive onto my metal bit. Okay, and smear that around. Okay, and now flip it back over. And I'm going to use some of those clips again to hold it there until the adhesive is dry. All right, fabulous. Now the next bit is, I'm using this tiny little, I'm not sure what you'd call it, a hitch. It's just a little opener, but it's got a screw piece. So it's got a hole there. It's got a screw that goes in there. Okay, you can get these from, I know Tim Holtz has some, I think they're called hitch fasteners. So I know he's got some. I know there's a few companies that have them. So I think if you just type in hitch fastener, I think you will find what it is you're looking for. So we're going to pull this elastic to make it taut, you know, so we know where to put our hitch fastener. So I'm going to kind of take my pen, and it kind of works out perfect that it is pretty much right in the center of this part. Can you see that mark? So now I'm going to punch a hole in that. It's part of the reason why I did this ever so slightly off center, so we could put something there. All right, now I don't know if my crocodile is actually gonna fit down there. Let's see. Well, maybe. No, it doesn't go that far. Okay, so I've got a different hole punch. Let's see. This is a super old school one. Let's see if this one will work. Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, that works like a charm. Great. Okay, so now we're going to, oh, first we need our paper on this part actually. So, we're gonna do our butterflies on this piece as well. So I'll put that down. Okay, so once that is adhered, now we can just use a pokey tool to punch a hole in the pattern paper so we know where it is we're going. There we go. We've got our little hole there. Okay, so now it's just a matter of placing this and putting the screw on the other side. Once again, I'm going to use just a little bit of wet adhesive. Actually, I think I'll put the screw through first. That might be a better way to go. And then adhere this on. There we go. That's nice and tight. Okay, fantastic. So now this elastic will pull down and latch onto that to keep the lid closed. All right, now you don't have to do this kind of closure at all. You could definitely do, I'm thinking now I should have not used a black elastic. Oh, it's all right. You could do a ribbon closure and just put a piece of ribbon underneath this piece of pattern paper and a piece of ribbon underneath this pattern piece of paper. You could do latches where it's like you adhere one half on the top and then have the ones that hinge and have the other piece come over here and it latches closed like that. So I mean, so many possibilities. Use what you have. I mean, there's definitely a lot of ways that you can keep the lid closed. You could do buckles, you know, you get the buckles with like a little strap through it. That would work as well, something like that. Okay, so now I'm going to adhere, I think these should be dry now. I'm going to adhere this to the front of my drawer. All right, so I'm going to use both dry and wet adhesive to just adhere that to the front. Because the drawer front is just a tiny bit bigger than this, I'm going to put the adhesive on the drawer itself just so we don't get any adhesive anywhere we don't want it. Okie dokie. So just going to remove that little bit of tape backing holding the tines there. Make sure it's the right way up and center it and adhere it down. So you want the bottom to sit flush with the bottom of the drawer. Okay, and again I'm going to use these clips to just kind of clip it there until it is completely adhered. Okay, and now we can just start decorating the rest of our album. So I'm not going to do the entire thing with you just because it's a lot of little pieces and it's literally just measuring what you want to cover and cutting a piece of paper a tiny bit smaller. And I have inked all my edges in Vintage Photo Distress ink, but again, that is optional. And I haven't decided, I probably won't do the inside area where the drawer is because I don't plan on taking the drawer all the way out. You could certainly do it if you want to, but I don't really feel it's necessary. You can get a hand in there to put paper in there, but we'll see how much paper I have left once the important bits are done. And yeah, okay, so I'm gonna put some paper on and then I will come back to you. Okay, so I've got some of my papers on, most of them actually. But I mean, you can do this for a wedding. You can do this for memories box, you know.